Please welcome on stage Cyril Lamblard.
Martin.
Bonjour Cyril, ça va?
Hello, good morning.
I've exhausted my French now. So, welcome to Chicago. We've seen the video. Let's start with your role at Nespresso, Global Head of E-commerce. What does that mean?
I'm the Global Head of E-commerce for Nespresso since 2009. Basically, I'm in charge of delivering the performance on both sales but also customer satisfaction and protecting our future, transforming the organization to make sure that we remain there in the years to come and delivering the best experience for our customer.
And the scale of your e-commerce organization is quite impressive. I know we can't go into exact numbers, but it's kind of easy to think of Nespresso as like just a little coffee company, but it's really not, is it?
It's a big business. When I joined Nespresso in 2009, I used to say it's an interesting startup with a strong business model behind. We were 7 people in charge of e-commerce, all in Lausanne, and we have no operations in the market. And we grew the operation to more than 500 plus people in the world, operating in more than 40 countries now. And the business grew from several hundred millions to several billions. So that's the magnitude of the change we had to manage. And as I was saying, what was really important and challenging during this period is to deliver, on one side, the performance, the customer satisfaction, and also transform, because you need to constantly adapt to your customer.
So, from your perspective, that digital business, e-commerce, they're the same thing really, aren't they? Now, we talked about yesterday the 4 quadrants or the 4 rules of digital business: experience, operations, ecosystems, and innovation. How do you think about digital? Is it all of that? Is it one thing in particular?
No, definitely it works hand in hand on both operational and the customer experience dimension. And what I listened yesterday, what I really believe is the digital transformation actually is really a business transformation, and it's all about the customer and the journey. We realized a few years back at Nespresso that our customer, are navigating between online and offline naturally, and what they're having during this journey is a pure Nespresso experience. They're not having an e-commerce one, they're not having a physical store one, they're just having an Nespresso experience, and they decide what's relevant to their context. And really our job, us as channel owners in Nespresso, is really to deliver the best experience, whatever the channels. And we focus only on the journey. And that's the most important part, to focus on the customer. And paradoxically, in order to deliver the best experience, it doesn't start with technology. It doesn't start with digital. It starts with your people and the capability to bring the relevant people in your organization to decipher this evolution and trends and deliver the best experience and build the puzzle, that is relevant for your customer. Because in fine, what your customer expect is relevant experiences to their context. Is this delivered by a digital solution, an AI, or a person? For them, it's the same as long as they get what they want now. And that's a challenge for any of us in charge of digital transformation. And our customers live now. They don't live in 2 years or 5 years from now. What they expect is a relevant experience now. And that's really a big, big challenge for us.
So that customer expectation, we know, and we'll tell you time and time again at Forrester, that customer expectation changes so quickly these days. Now, you're running an operation, so what, 12,000 employees?
Yes.
Across 40 countries, 60 countries, some global scale. How do you connect the customer expectation, or how do you connect those 12,000 employees rather to the customer expectation and keep it up to date and relevant?
First of all, at Nespresso, because we have a huge network of boutiques, call centers, and also now more and more digital savvy experts in the organization. 75% of the population of Nespresso is dedicated to customer, so customer facing somehow. So at Nespresso, we assess ourselves, of course, on sales, but more importantly also on customer satisfaction. So we have different ways, customer voice, NPS, at all levels that are applied, and we track complaints. And we get complaints from all different sources, from all channels, and they are all logged. But these complaints and feedback from customers are monitored at board level. And we are all also looking at it on a very regular basis. Markets are looking at it on a daily basis. On my side, globally, I'm looking at them on the weekly basis, and the board is looking at it on a monthly basis. And we are really working on these 2 dimensions, delivering, of course, the efficiency we have as a business, but also focusing a lot on the customer experiences. And also in order to go further in walking the talk, because when we talk about customer centricity, Of course, you have channels, you're a boutique manager, and you say, yeah, but me, I'm incentivized on the quality of the experience I offer within my boutique. And you're not seeing at the customer journey. So how do you make sure that these people in your physical store are also thinking customer journey and not only what they deliver in the boutique? So what we did at Nespresso, we also incentivize our physical store managers on catchment area. So whatever the business is from, being on digital or in boutique, people get incentivized. And now you make sure that your people are totally driven to your customer and will provide what is the most relevant experience to your customer, to their context. So sometimes people want to have a boutique experience. It is just perfect. They want to experience the brand in 3 dimensions. But in other contexts, the mobile and the reordering process on the mobile is just what they need. And they need to be able to push for it without being penalized on their bonus. If not, it's not working. It's conflicting. So you have to make sure that you remove this friction also internally in the way you structure your operations.
So it's tying every individual employee's incentives to the goals of the organization, not the channel.
Yes. And on my side, for instance, I'm the global head of e-commerce, but my incentive on the sales performance is not on e-commerce, it's on the global one. So we are winning all together, not alone in silos.
So this is a transition you've been through, though, isn't it? Because when I first started working with you guys, probably 5 years ago, you still have this culture of excellence. Everything has to be perfect, right?
Yes.
The perfect coffee experience, and why not? But so you've gone from this world where you have the perfect boutique, the perfect website, the perfect mobile app, to flip it on its head and put the customer at the center. That's got to have been painful. That's got to have, broken some noses and caused some fights and.
I would not say painful. It was rather an experience. And as you've seen in the video, all the people are really driven by excellence and Nespresso at all levels and how we deliver the best experience to a customer on all the dimensions, being the product or the channel experience. But what we did, we started by creating a big momentum around an internal meeting around omni-channel 4 years ago, and say, okay, now we're going to look at the journey, and really the channels are really secondary. So all the channel leaders of the company were on stage in front of the leading team from the markets, and we explained that now the focus is going to be on the journey and not the channel anymore, and that's something that is very, very important to address and to work together. On digital, what we did to accelerate this transformation, of course, we had to revisit some technical operation, but my main focus has been from day one on people. And my beliefs in digital transformation, it starts with the people and the competencies you're able to bring in your organization. Because one of the big mistakes we can do in big operation is to limit a digital or business transformation as a technical project or program, and that's maybe a one-off element, but that not will protect you on the long term if you don't have the relevant skills and people to decipher the future. Because today it's hard to predict what will be the future. We have some direction. We know AI, we know data, we know plenty of dimensions that will I use as compass on my side to see where we are heading to, but the reality today is a bit different. But what you need in the organization is to have people, what I call our digital experts, that are for me the barbarians, that are in the team there to decipher what's coming next and being able to assemble the different opportunities brought by technologies and make meaningful and relevant experiences for our customer. But if you don't have these people, no one will be able to assemble this piece of technologies or innovation coming into something that is meaningful for your customer. So that's why it's so important to have these people from day one. So we built from scratch in operation. We were 7, as I said. Now we are more than 500 people in the organization. It's a big team. And what is super important also to amplify their role and their influence in the organization is to connect them, to make them talk. Because at Nespresso, we were centrally managed. What we did here, we decentralized the organization and we connect them horizontally through charter tools and so on to make sure they share and we accelerate and amplify. And the strength also of this community, actually, me and myself, I'm considered as a leader of a community of the digital expert of Nespresso. They amplify the momentum you're creating because you in the headquarters in centrally, you can say things. You can say this is a way forward. This is where we need to go. But if you have hundreds of people in the market repeating the same, you're stronger. And this amplifies the message to your management, and this makes the change even stronger in the operations.
So it's, in essence, you're giving away control, or at least giving away tight control to create a network or an ecosystem of people within the organization.
Yes, exactly. What I did when I started my job is to lose power. I have everything in my hands when I joined Nespresso, and I started to say, we need to decentralize. And actually, my belief was I will be stronger to amplify the change that was needed for the organization. And so, yes, we decentralize a lot this operation to make us more efficient.
So we've talked in the past about this idea of tensions, healthy tensions within the organization, and you begin to bring one up, which is this kind of corporate versus barbarian kind of attitude.
Yes.
So where the digital barbarians, I love the idea of that. Do you have to hire for those people, those change agents and troublemakers, or can you find them internally?
Yes, so what I say is, my job is to protect the futures, and often in big corporations, the people that are leading the operation are the ones that made the success of the past. And what you need to bring is these people that are able to disrupt a little bit your structure and be able to protect your future and not your past anymore. So the strategy we took is to hire these competencies, put them in very key roles within the organization, and to challenge, amplify the messages and being the ambassador. So the idea is not to oppose the people that made the success of the past with the ones that are well equipped for the future, but it's to make them work together. And we are lucky in a way that we have a common language between the corporate, what I call the corporate, and the barbarians. The unified language we have together is not English, even though it starts with English in most of the case. It's the data. We all speak in data. So, and digital people, they live in data because they constantly optimize and so on, and how you bridge these two worlds to make understand where to go and what are the benefits for the future. But these people also are very important to manage another tension that is for me very important, is a tension between data and intuition. Traditional salespeople, they feel the business, how it's going to evolve commercially, they go in a retail and they can see things and feel it. Digital people are the same. They look at the trends, they're nourished by all the trends, and they start feeling what is going to be the evolution. And we need to trust this intuition. As you know, there is a big famous sentence saying, no strategy has been proven analytically before it was executed. So it's very important that you have these people that can feel and make you evolve and start thinking outside the box. And of course, you need the data, that is super important to optimize your day-to-day operation and to deliver the business. Now, there are other tensions that are for me important. I was talking about delivering and transforming. I could talk also about agility and scale. As you imagine, I'm the head of a global business of few billions, so I want to be agile. I want to adapt quickly on the front and the experience. So it starts with the people I brought in, but also in the way you see the operating model. So we are decoupling the front, leveraging APIs, web services, to make sure we are able to use the new evolution and technology as a Lego, and that's super important. So with the people that understand the future and a system and operating model that is more open and decoupled, you can create this agility. But at the same time, I want my IT people to be able to scale because I don't want my website to be down. We have to scale for the growth we are having in all this for this global business, and that's super important. So that's the paradox, I would say, about business transformation, and you have to manage. It's not or, it's not deliver or transform, it's not barbarians or corporate, it's not data or intuition, it's not about agility or scale, it's and that's what I learned during these 9 years at Nespresso.
So another tension that then emerges is the tension between having a rigid process. So you want change control, you want to make sure you don't break a website, but at the same time you want to encourage collaboration, you want to encourage innovation, and you want people to do new things, but you don't want them to break the existing. So how is Nespresso a process organization, or is it a more open collaboration organization?
Yes, it's a process organization. You don't run a business of several billion without processes, let's be clear. Like any other big organization, we have a tendency to over-process, and at the end you wonder if you're working for your customer or for your process. And that's, I think, anyone in a big corporation will feel this. So we need process for what they bring in terms of scalability, stability, but also we need to disrupt this process to gain agility on the front. So what we are also doing is we are, as much as we can, we are trying to merge team between business and IT. The concept of being separate, between business and IT in a digital age is from the past, is wrong. You need to assemble these people together, and they have to build together the future. And by doing so, you remove a lot of different layers that are creating useless processes. So very often, one of my role is really to make sure that even when we do mistake, because the temptation in a big corporation is, recently we had an issue on the website in Germany. And when we realized the problem, it was fixed in like 30 minutes. But the reaction of the management was to say, okay, now we need to create a process to make sure this will not happen again. But actually, we were about to create a process on an exception that was treated very well. Actually, no, I don't want, because the reaction was right. We understood, we fixed the problem. I don't need to create a process that will be applied to the rest of the organization on something that was exceptional in a given market. And that's something we need to resist a lot. That's because we have the tendency to over-complexify setup.
So that's one of the interesting things I think you guys have done really well, which is you have a central team, or do you call them central or corporate?
Central team.
Central. So central team in LATAM, but you've got digital skills embedded in the different markets to really get a deep understanding of why is Germany different to the US, to whichever other markets. Is that something that did you lead that process of finding the people in the markets as well?
Yes, that's very important. That's why also we build this community in all our markets. It's our eyes and ears. Of course, they operate locally, so they understand. I believe people in the US, people in Japan are the best people to run the e-commerce and the digital operation in their own country to deliver relevant experiences to the context of the customer. That is super important. But at the same time, they are very important and they are very well aware of their role. They are our eyes and ears of what's happening in the market, on the trends, on the evolutions, to help us to innovate and to be better. And thanks to this community, we are stronger. Instead of imagining everything from downtown Lausanne, so I don't know if you know Lausanne. Lausanne is a small city, it's a beautiful city, but we are surrounded by mountains, chaos, so very well connected. It's an amazing place to live. But to feel what's happening in the digital world, in New York, San Francisco, Tokyo, and so on, you need to have people there that are there to feed you back with what's happening and how you need to evolve. And that's creating tension, as we imagine, between central and local, because people in the market say, I want it now, it's happening now in my countries, and you have to manage the complexity. But it's what I call an healthy tension. I like it. It's what I wanted initially when I created this operation, because it makes us better and more equipped, better equipped also to prepare and protect our future.
So since going global is an interesting example of scale, so since you launched online, you guys have scaled so quickly, your growth has been phenomenal. So what do you think was the biggest challenge of managing that scale without breaking the existing operation?
But it's managing the tension between what you have to do now. So basically, we invested a lot in the technology to make them evolve, and at the same time in people to run the channels in the markets. So there was a tension, of course, because you always have the feeling that you're late, and that's anyone working in digital. You always have the feeling that people are going faster than you do. But what is important is to refocus on the feedback on the customer. So look at what the customer and the customer journey, and that's maybe the most important part, because it's how you can reassure yourself on what you're doing is right or is wrong. It's not about what you're reading it's not about internal PR or external PR people are doing. I made these nice prototypes and so on. It's what really creates value for the customer that is fundamental. And it's by listening to them and checking all the time what you're doing to them and getting this feedback that you're right in what you execute, that you get the reassurance you're going in the right direction.
So prototypes take us onto the whole kind of concept of innovation and trying to experiment with things. How do you? We talked yesterday, and Julie asked the question, and I asked the question as well. How do you innovate and test and learn and fail and not get fired?
Yes, it's been 9 years, so I failed a lot.
Many
times.
Still there,
I'm a survivor.
Not that I'm saying you failed, but
no, but we failed along this journey, of course. But basically, it's a school of humility. You test new things. You have to be humble. You have to believe in your figures. So you have to believe in your intuition, and then you let speak the data, and you see how it works, and what works, you keep it as an enhanced customer experience. And in parallel, you have to do more fundamental research. When you talk about AI, for instance, and the evolution, how this can disrupt how you're going to deliver customer service to your customer through call centers and so on. You have plenty of things you could imagine now. The reality is not today. You cannot replace your call center by artificial intelligence, and I'm not sure it will fully on the long term. But at the same time, you need to have units that are disconnected from day-to-day operation, that are able to look at these trends and start testing and creating prototypes and looking how it works and testing them with customers. So you can do also control group with your customers, and you look in the real life what it means. So it's about testing and learning and trying to adapt also your operating model. What my concern for me is to make sure my operating model is compatible with the future. It's important that we disconnect the front from the back with web services to be able to connect with all these new things that will come and the new ones that will come that we don't know yet. So we need to be ready for that. And really the most important is to make sure that gradually you're able to open up your system. And of course, we are building up on our legacy. We have a legacy system we have to live with that is great and have also some limitation. But if we are here today, it's because this legacy system delivered what it delivered. And we have to constantly adapt. And I think the strategy around APIs and web services is fundamental for any business to prepare the future.
So that enables you to innovate very rapidly.
Yes.
So there's a couple of questions on the monitor that are coming up from the audience. I've got to ask the second question. What's your favorite coffee?
So it's a Levanto. I don't know if you know Nespresso.
There you go, whoever asked that. Cyril's own recommendation.
So it's a Levanto, yes.
So, and then the other one is an interesting one, which we've got a little bit of time left. Does the focus on the customer journey for the back office operations differ from the frontline staff? So is experience and operations separate, or do you join them together?
Yeah, of course, it's interconnected. So our back office enable us also to have consistent experiences. When we personalize at Nespresso, we personalize in an omni-channel way. So if you're a customer, we can personalize your experience on the front, on the web. But if you call the call center, the customer relationship center, or if you call your boutique, you go in your boutique, you will have a personalized experience. When we recognize you, you will get the same everywhere because our back-end system is able to deliver this personalized experience on all the different touch points.
Okay. So we're almost out of time. One last final question, quick fire question. If you were to go back 9 years, you've been at Nespresso? If you were to go back 9 years in a magic time machine, what would you do differently?
Maybe I will focus less on technologies when I joined Nespresso because we have a big scalability issue to fix. I focused a lot on the technologies to make sure that we were in business at peak time during 2 years in a row. And by doing so, I've been pictured by the management as the tech guy, you know, which is nothing wrong. Don't get offended by this, but I always perceive myself as a business developer adapted to the digital age and not a tech guy. I understand technology for what it brought to the business. But the perception to my corporate leaders at that time was we were technological people, and they didn't understand the magnitude of the transformation we were in and the business dimension of this transformation. So I will refocus more on the business than on the technology. So that's what I will do more. I think I'll lose a little bit of time at the beginning on this front.
Okay, great. I think that's a fantastic place to leave it. Reconnecting the technology back to the needs of the customer and actually putting the customer at the center of everything. Right, so please join me in thanking Cyril. Thank you.